Hello, hello. I am Andrew, and this project is called Promptjoy. So Promptjoy does two main things. You can split test your prompts, and you can log your inputs and outputs. So let's take a look at those two functions. So you come in, you're presented with an API key, which you'll use to call the API. You start by creating a prompt. So this is really just a name. So we have a product called rewriteme.ai. So I can create a prompt with just a name like this. I can also add my variants too. So if I want to use Promptjoy to give me one of these random variants, an A, B, C, or D, I can put in the prompt template in here. So my prompt, so this would be the actual prompt. You might want to put the variables in here. So I don't know, like a first name or something like that. If you're using LangChain, this will match nicely so that when you have the logs, you can true it up to a variant of whichever template you want to try and A/B test. Or you can just use, if you just have a simple prompt, you can, with no variables, or even if it does have variables, you can just put your initial prompt in here. So when I add the variants, I can also add a version and click save, and I will get a new item in here. So I can either copy the ID, edit it, or view the log. So if I were to start with an empty prompt like this, I'm presented with my API key, the prompt ID, and the docs are here. There's a link to a docs in a couple different places. Very simple. There's really just two endpoints that you care about: logging the API calls and then getting a random variant. So all this thing is actually going to do is just return one of the random variants if you have more than one and you want to use Promptjoy in that way. But primarily, it's a prompt logger. So the docs are here. Yeah, you can see an example curl request, and it's just a simple post request with the input. So that would be the input that's going into your large language model, and the output, whatever comes out of it. And then a variant if you want. It defaults to A, which would be your first variant. So when I go to call this, I'm just going to call this a bunch of times locally here, and we'll simulate a bunch of requests from users. And if I refresh, then I see logs here. So here's my input on the left, my output in the middle, and I can view, this will be like the table will have a shorter view if it's a really long input or a really long output, but this pop out to the right will show you the full input and output, and you can search here. But for us, it was just a really nice way to be able to log what the heck our model is outputting and if that output is good or not. It was just really hard to tell for us in production, so we created a little open source free tool to help us log our prompt inputs and outputs, and that's it. Welcome to Promptjoy.